Welcome to the Male Mogul Podcast, where we discuss topics that will positively transform the way people live and lead in their communities. Here are your hosts, Walter Mendenhall and Dr. D.T. Shackelford.
Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Walter Mendenhall, and I have a very special guy with me here today, man. A partner, co-host. This guy has a great story, man, and we're going to go deep into it, man. How old were you, 28 when you got your Ph.D.?
28.
28, Ph.D. at 28. SEC football player, linebacker.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, okay, SEC. Just a great man of God, just great friend, just a great person, man. I just want everybody, I want to kind of introduce you to the world, man, and just hear your story. There's some things that I'm curious about that I don't know about your story. And I can't forget, though, husband. Husband.
Say that again.
Husband. Yes. So very beautiful wife. Shout out to Jordan. Yeah. Shout out to my wife, Michelle. Make sure I get that. Yeah, man. So what we're going to do this episode is called Going Deep. And we're going to just interview you, talk about your childhood all the way up into your college years and career, and just kind of what you're doing now with the Male Mogul Initiative, and even why you chose to be a part of the Male Mogul Initiative. So I'm just very excited about this interview, very excited to go deep. And the first thing I want to do is kind of just talk about your childhood, man. So where did you grow up? Where are you from, DT?
Yeah, so if we're talking about going deep, let's start in Alabama.
Okay.
Right? So I'm from the deep South, right? So collard greens, neck bones, like all of the soul food. You can probably put that in one pot and put it in me, right? Okay. I'm from the South, like to the core, right? So I'm from Alabama, Decatur, Alabama.
So I heard of Decatur, Georgia, but I never heard of Decatur,
No, we're the real
Decatur.
So Decatur, Alabama, and I call it one of the places that you can't quite get anywhere else.
Okay.
I was in a place where I was away from the big city lights.
Okay.
Right. So it gave me an opportunity to get deeply connected with the individuals I grew up with.
Okay.
So deep, when you talking going deep, I mean, that was me, right? It wasn't, I have big skyscrapers to look at as I came into the city. I didn't have a lot of the things that I'm accessible or have access to now in a place like Chicago.
Okay.
My wife is from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Right. So she came from the big city, big bright lights, and I come from the dirt.
Yeah.
Literally.
So is Decatur like a one light stoplight town, or is it like a small suburb? Like what is it?
It is not one light.
Okay.
So we're about 15 minutes outside of Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
So it is growing every single day. Kind of one of those towns where everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
But there's been some amazing and powerful people that has come out of such a place like Alabama and Decatur specifically. So I've really been blessed to have, I would call it balance.
I get you.
When you coming from a place like Alabama, you have no choice but to be connected from the inside out. I live by a quote that says within outward, right? And my hometown taught me that to be something from the inside first, and then the inside is an incidental reflection of what's outside, right? Okay. So you have to make sure in Alabama, because can't nobody afford the Gucci shoes,
okay,
right? Ain't nobody got the ones, right? Like not many. Yeah. So what you really have in Decatur is people that are structured, right? And you have something that goes deeper than the extrinsic. So for me, it's been really, really, it was a blessing to come from a place like Alabama.
Okay. So as we describe in Decatur, is it like an affluent town? Is there like a good side? Then is it like the hood, or what kind? What is like? Is it mostly black? Is it white? What is it?
It's mixed. Okay. I went to a high school that had an IB program, and I went to a high school, and that same high school had drug dealers, right? So it was a mix, and which is really it's really interesting to me that I had to come from a place like that, because my journey, I mean, I left Alabama and went to school at Ole Miss, left Ole Miss and went to Dallas, Texas, left Dallas, Texas and came to Chicago. So I needed that. It was interwoven into my DNA, and specifically my hometown. So Decatur is a place it's really mixed. You know, you have your blacks, you have your whites, you have your people that are highly affluent, and then you have those individuals that are still begging for crumbs. So you got both.
And, you know, it's always been interesting to me, especially about these southern towns and just growing up in a big city like Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's like, it seems like it's more integrated mm-hmm. down south with blacks and whites living together, as opposed to like a place like Chicago, which is like so segregated. Mm-hmm. And it always amazes me how, you know, people that I know from the South mm-hmm. really a lot of times grow up in integrated communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, I'm not saying that we didn't see the Confederate flags on the back of trucks. So, I mean, we saw that, right? That was something that you saw, and it was deeply ingrained into your head. So that flag meant something different to me. Yeah. And it was a scar. It was a wound. I mean, you're talking about a flag that they flew at Ole Miss football games, yeah. right? So, I mean, and that's the university that I got all three of my degrees from. Okay. So you talking about, you know, a Confederate flag that I had it was forced down my throat, so to speak, growing up. So,
that ain't riding in Chicago.
Yeah, I know it ain't gonna ride. You know what I'm saying? So, that was definitely, it was definitely an experience to see so much of the intermingling and how that developed the person of who I am.
Yeah, man. So I like to kind of just talk about your family dynamics, man. So I would love to talk about, you know, like in the house, man, who lived with you? Was it your mother? Was it your dad? Did you have brothers, sisters? Kind of just tell me about your family dynamic.
Well, let's go deep. So my biological father, he passed away when I was in the 10th grade. Okay. I grew up, I probably met him about 5 times.
Okay. Did he live in Decatur?
He lived in Decatur.
So probably a small town, and you only met him 5 times.
Small town, and when we talk about this perspective of going deep, I always yearn for a phone call from my father. Mm. The blood that ran through his veins, well, the blood is the blood that ran through my veins, and I couldn't quite connect the dots as to why he couldn't pick up the phone and call. So, those were the wounds, right? When you talk about, I always talk about this perspective of blood-stained capes, right? And so you got these individuals in life who wear the cape, but it's red. And so the blood, it stains the cape, but it's invisible, right? To an individual that's not looking at the blood, right? So the cape that I wear or that people see is definitely bloody. And one of those wounds is definitely from my biological father. And so let's go deeper. And then, so I use this comparison, man. I'm deeply ingrained into the word of God. And I always talk about Moses, right? And so I talk about Moses, which name literally means drawn from the water, right? And so for me, I was drawn out of situations where statistically speaking, I wasn't supposed to make it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I talk about Moses because Jethro gave him something that I feel like he always wanted out of Amram, who was his biological father.
Okay.
Right. And so when you talk about these perspectives as to who stepped in, right? Who was that coach? Mm-hmm. Who was that teacher? Who was that specific individual that helps raise you to be the man that you are? And for me, it was my stepfather. Okay. My stepfather has definitely a bloody past.
Is your stepfather from Decatur too?
Yep, my stepfather's from Decatur, Alabama. Okay. He has a 10th grade education, so he dropped out of high school. He actually spent 4 years in prison. Okay. Had over 54 charges against him. Hey. He was on a 12-year sentence. And got 4 and hasn't looked back since. And my stepfather always talks about this terminology, reflective focus, right? Okay. It's getting
reflective focus.
Reflective focus, okay. Right? You get to a point in your life where you're able to look back and be grateful over where you come from. And so as I'm sitting here vibing with you, talking to you and to everybody else that's listening, I gained something from my stepfather that I don't think I gained from anybody else, and it's to look back and be grateful for the handcuffs. The handcuffs birthed the doctor. Isn't that crazy?
What do you mean by the handcuffs?
The handcuffs that my stepfather wore in prison for 4 years. I would never forget going to visit him. It's called 48-hour visitation passes. Yo, you ever had 48 hours to see your Superman?
Wow.
Yo, that hurts.
Wow.
And so now you in a perspective where like, okay, the world is telling me statistically I can't be a doctor. And then in my house is telling me you are either going to be, you're either going to be destined for handcuffs or you're going to be the next person on the block. And so I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful to be in Chicago right now. And I have to attribute that, a lot of that, most of that to who I would call my hero, who is Malcolm Shackelford. So I actually took his last name.
Oh, you took, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so my last name actually came from an ex-convict.
Wow.
So it was interesting to see how he really put something in me. I think it was the desire, but also the boldness. Also that it factor, that grittiness that he had to have. And so me biblically speaking, whenever you look through that good book, look how many books was written in prison. And look how many people we not speaking to that's in prison.
Yeah.
Yo, the dynamics are off. And so now you're looking at a doctor, but I got to tell you first about the handcuffs.
Can you tell me about your mom?
Yeah, so my mother's, oh my goodness, she's a powerful woman of God. I always compare her to somewhat of a Hannah. And Hannah says, for this child I have prayed, right? And so my mother, man, she's a giver at heart. Her name is Sherry. I just got off the phone with her today.
Okay.
She is such a powerful woman of God. The Bible says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I believe my mother sees God every second of the day.
Okay.
There's not many people you can come into that atmosphere and you can feel God. Like you can feel it with her silence.
Yeah.
And not many people can give sermons silently. Yeah. Most people got to open their mouth. For her, it's her entrance into a room that changes the atmosphere instantly. One of the things that she did when we were growing up, we didn't have much, but what we did have was the things that you couldn't measure, right? So we would wake up on Thanksgiving. I would never forget. It was like my 9th grade year. Yeah. And so I love to eat, Walt, okay? Like I'm from the South, right? I love to eat. Yeah. So this is what happens. We wake up, I'm in the 9th grade. My older brother, he's in the 11th grade. And my younger sister, she's a grade behind me. Her name is Jasmine, my older brother, Cortez.
So you got three of y'all total.
3 of us total.
Older brother and younger sister.
Older brother and the younger sister. Okay. So we wake up smelling food. I'm like, yo, it's on today. And I remember getting up and I saw these 10 like pans on the counter. And she was like, I want each and every one of y'all to pick up 2 or 3 of these 10 and like put them in the car. I'm like, this don't sound like we about to eat. Yeah. And she was like, get up. Her and my stepfather, who I thank God for so much, they came together and they said, this Thanksgiving, and from this point forward, we will be feeding the homeless shelter. Okay. And so me, my older brother, and my younger sister, literally on Thanksgiving, we're taking plates of food to the homeless shelter. And so it allowed for me to see just how deep people's sorrows go, right? How deep does that really go? What leads an individual to be begging for bread at a homeless shelter? Wow. I know they really didn't want that for themselves, but what landed them in that spot? And so it always kept me humble. Therefore, humble yourselves up under the mighty hands of the Lord. And so I learned humility at a young age. Yeah. And so I learned that primarily through my mother and my stepfather. They gave so much and they still give to this day. And so I owe a lot of what I have to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know you told me that your mother was a hairdresser. And I never knew what your stepfather did for a profession.
Yeah, so my stepfather, you know when you grew up in high school and you saw that check come in, like with the gray sides, the one we used to peel back. I don't even know if they had them no more, right? They used to peel them back and you knew mom and them had a check. Yeah. I never saw that. Right? I never saw that. Right? My mother had cash flow. She was a beautician. Yeah. Which is the reason why I wear an all black shirt. Okay. It's a dedication to the black mat that she stood on and had cramps in her foot. And she did that all my life. And that's how she provided the resources in order for me to do the things that I do. And my stepfather was just a cold-blooded hustler. That was it, right? I mean, you're looking at, when you look at my stepfather, I mean, when you look at the statistical data and the things that are stacked up against him, there isn't a job interview he's going to and they're giving him the upper hand.
Yeah.
They always putting the handcuffs before the individual.
Yeah.
I didn't. But the world did, and so that left me with not a lot of presents on Christmas.
Yeah.
That left my brother and my sister without a lot, yet we gained so much. So
most definitely, man. Yeah. So I want to just talk a little bit about your older brother and younger sister, and just can you just what's your older brother like?
Yeah. So me and my older brother, it's very interesting that you say that, because my older brother, we're not connected neither by mother or father.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
But blood couldn't make us any closer.
Wow.
So my stepfather, we have different mothers, and then my stepfather, his biological father.
Yeah.
Right. And so the dynamics for us growing up was being able to see a pattern.
Yeah.
And so whenever you see a pattern, you learn and you're older brother, right? Yeah, and so you the sacrificial lamb.
Most definitely.
Right? So it's a lot of things that your younger siblings may not do because they saw you do it.
Most definitely.
And so there's a lot of times when you want to congratulate an older brother for a plethora of accomplishments. But I want to congratulate my brother for being the sacrifice.
Yeah.
For being the individual that I could look up to and say, yo, man, that's how you do it, or don't do it that way.
Yeah.
Right. And he has no reserve for me to say this, but I feel like it's such a weight to carry to be the older brother.
Yeah, it is. No, most definitely being an older brother. It's just like, everybody's looking at you, and that, you are, like you said, the sacrificial lamb, the test dummy, and just, what you do kind of sets the direction, sets the tone for your other siblings.
I mean, it really does. Okay, let's go biblical, because we can speak on that on that type of language. Aaron was Moses' older brother.
I didn't know that.
Right? And so when you look at the dynamics, did Moses hit the rock because Aaron constructed the golden calves? Right? Was it because Moses all along didn't have an older brother that could set the right pattern?
Yeah.
Right? And so these are the dynamics you look at in the Bible and you say, yo, how many of these instances do we emulate? And so I'm always very high as it pertains to my older brother, because what he gave me was the sacrifice.
Gotcha.
And that's bloody. And we don't like to talk about blood a lot, but that's how you confirm the covenant in the Old Testament. And that's how Jesus did it in the New. Yeah. It took blood. For my older brother, that's what it took. So by his blood, I'm beautiful. Yeah. Isn't that something?
Yeah. The scars he took.
The scars he took.
Kind of taught you, or made you think a certain way and to go a different path. I like that. Your brother ain't dead or nothing, though.
No, my brother's an amazing father.
Yeah.
He has I got some amazing nieces. They are amazing. They smart. I mean, my brother, if you had an opportunity to speak with him, I love his whole vibe, man. Like he's sleeved out, and he's real to the core. Yeah. Right. So if you don't want real, don't talk to my brother.
Gotcha.
He's real to the core, but I love him. Yeah. I love him because I know that what he gives me is his best. And so I appreciate him for that.
Most definitely, man. Your sister, man. You got a younger sister. I got a younger sister too. So
yeah.
I remember her just being babied, and like I felt like my parents, and particularly my mom, was a lot harder on me than she was on her.
My sister, and I say this, I don't say this lightheartedly, but I can call my sister at this moment and gain strength. At any moment of the day, I can call my younger sister, and at any moment she got something for me. Yeah. She gets, I would call her a perfect mix of my mother and my father. Yeah. Right? She's a giver, but she a hustler. Yeah. And your shirt, humble hustler. Yeah. That may be her, right?
She need to get one of them shirts. You can buy one of these.
She definitely need to get one. Shout out to humble hustler, right? Yeah. And so when you look at my sister, a lot of people define humility as strength under control, right? That's what I see my sister, right? She got fire in her veins for whatever it is that she does. She does hair. she's cold with her hands. I call her hands anointed.
Yeah.
That's for doing hair or laying them on me sometimes. So the strength that I gained from my siblings, me and Cortez, we grew up in a room. We had twin beds, a bed I couldn't fit in and a bed he couldn't fit in.
Oh, I've been there.
You've been there, right? And with my sister, she would come into the room. She had her own room, and she would come into the room all the time. And when we were younger, she would suck her thumb, right? Just when we were younger, and she would play with our ears, right? And I look at the symbolism behind that now, and as I grow up, I can feel myself in Chicago being tugged on by my sister's hand as she consistently tells me, hey, you can make it. Boom, boom, boom. You got it. Boom, boom, boom. Give the world hope. Boom, boom, boom. And I see her sucking her thumb, rubbing my ear as we speak. Got chills talking about it. It's some powerful stuff. But this is the thing. My sister never, she never not gives me hope.
Yeah.
And that lady is a gift to this earth. I can, like I said, I can text her or call at any moment. And so me and my sister shared the same womb, right? So that isn't Cortez's biological mother. But that me and Jasmine, right? And so she's a year younger than me, right? And so, I mean, just the things that she gives me on a day-to-day basis, if it's a text, if it's, hey, bro, you can do it, awesome. And if it's realness. And so
that's what's up.
When you are compressed by an older brother and a younger sister like Cortez and Jasmine, what choice do you have?
Yeah.
But to go further in life?
Most definitely. So I want to kind of go to high school, man. And I know that you were an athlete, particularly a football player. And I just kind of want to just talk about that, man. How'd you get into football? I know, the Alabama, I think that's a big football state.
Yeah.
And, how did you kind of separate yourself from the other players that were at your school?
Hard work. Until I found out later in college that hard work needs rest. I think so much of this culture stresses hard work, but we don't stress rest. And Jesus or God himself rested on the seventh day. We don't stress rest enough. And so ultimately, I think that was the inhibitor in order for me to go to the NFL. I worked so hard that I didn't find time to rest. So I tore my ACL 2 times. I know I'm jumping ahead of the story, but I'm going to a fundamental principle. While hard work gave me a doctorate degree, it also prohibited me from going to the NFL. So if anybody's listening to this, don't buy into this hard work culture to the point to where you feel like you don't need rest. Machines need rest.
Definitely.
So make sure you rest in your body in order for you to go forward. So I think that is a concept that I wish I would have known in high school. I worked all the time. I mean, you could ask my brother and sister. In high school, to all the young people out there, I would be in the 10th grade, 11th grade. Me and my brother shared a room now. Yeah. And it's not big at all. Yeah. We didn't have a table to do my homework on.
Okay.
And so what I would do is lay on the floor, and I would have my books out on a Friday night after a football game.
Okay.
You talking about real dedication because I knew
you better than me. Doing that.
I knew where I wanted to be, right?
Okay.
And I knew the trajectory, and I would have these dreams, and I would have this inward motivation to go deeper, right? I want more out of life. And so in high school, I was a hard worker. I don't regret it, but I do wish that I would have learned the concept of rest.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess everybody's smart on the backside of Revelation.
Most definitely, man. I can relate to the hard work. Like for me, I played 3 sports. My school starting at 7:30. I was waking up at 5:30. In the car at 5:45, somebody picked me up and we in the gym at 6, going from 6 to 7, taking cold showers in high school and, doing whatever I needed to do to get this work done, whether it was copying off somebody or doing something. And, I did that, played 3 sports. So I understand that hard work. But definitely on them Fridays, I was out. I was in them streets.
Well, okay, again, Again, I'm from Alabama.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have so much to do in the city.
So it ain't like Friday Night Lights, man.
I mean, it's live. Only thing you have in Alabama on a Friday night is a Friday night football game.
Dang.
Right? So that's it. And so now the extra grind kicks in after the lights are turned off.
I got you.
So make sure all you young people that's listening, make sure you developing in the dark. That's where trees really grow. Yeah. It's not what you can see. The leaves that you do see is just the roots exposed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Most definitely.
So I made sure to develop in the dark. And then for me, the extra pressure on my back was that nobody in my family had ever graduated college.
Okay.
And so I had a vision. And so I said, well, if I want to get to the place that I see, I must do the things that I've never saw done before me. Yeah. And so I got to do something different. I got to trailblaze my path.
I definitely feel that. I definitely, kind of went that same path. And I want to kind of get into kind of like your recruitment and why you chose Ole Miss. If you guys don't know, DT was a 4-star recruit. So there's 5 stars, 4 stars are, it was higher than me. I was a 3-star recruit and 4-star recruit in Alabama. You pretty much got all the, schools or pretty much a majority of the schools knocking at your door. And this is word on the street. I don't know that they might pass you that bag too in order to come to their school, man. Well, I ain't gonna put you out there like that, but maybe. So what made you choose Ole Miss out of all the other schools, and what were some of the schools you were thinking about?
Yeah, so originally in high school, I was committed to the University of Tennessee.
Okay.
All right, so this is an interesting story too, right? In high school, Lane Kiffin was the head coach at Tennessee the year I came out. I committed under Philip Farmer, right? Yeah. And so Lane Kiffin and Ed Orgeron was the assistant head coach. Ed Orgeron is now the head coach at LSU. And Lane Kiffin is now the head coach at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
Right? And so in high school, I had an amazing recruiting experience, but Ole Miss stood out to me primarily because of the coaches that I was connected to. Okay. One of them being specifically Coach Tyrone Nix. He was my defensive coordinator, and he pulled things out of me that I thought could never come out of me. Okay. Leadership, discipline, dedication on another level. I mean, it was just things that he taught me that I could never repay him for. So during my recruiting experience, primarily Ole Miss kind of took the front seat, specifically after Coach Philip Farmer had got fired, and then Lane Kiffin stepped in, and then let's just say me and Lane Kiffin didn't see eye to eye. Okay? I got you. But he's an amazing coach. He's now leading my institution, my alma mater. So I wish nothing but the best for him, and I pray that he continues to get amazing recruits, and we running a natty here in a minute. So
I got you, man. So you choose Ole Miss. You go there for the position coach, really. Yeah. And that's usually a lot of times the person that recruits you. And I remember being recruited by the primary, the running back coach. And as soon as I got there, he got fired, and you know how that go. And but I just want to know kind of what was it like, packing up, probably are you the first one to go off to college?
I'm a first generation college student.
So like how were you scared? What did you know what to expect? Like, was there any advice that your parents could give you that can actually translate into this new environment? And then on top of that, being a major college football player and all the pressures and temptations that come with that, man. Like, how did you manage and handle all that?
Well, I'll tell you that. So I'm gonna tap into me and Walt's text messages for a minute. Walt texted me one time and says, "Faith is the currency of the kingdom." That had to be my currency going off to college because I had never seen the pattern. I had never seen nobody do it. Yeah. I didn't know they couldn't tell me how to develop a schedule. Yeah, they couldn't tell me how to speak to a professor. They couldn't tell me how to write an email. They couldn't tell me how to help, go to the teacher and tell them about A, B, and C. Yeah. So faith was my footsteps. Okay.
And were you like a religious person in high school, or was you just kind of your mama was, so you kind of just was riding on her coattails?
No, I kind of was that person that was in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like
I definitely,
you know what I'm saying? I did me, you know, I had me. I kept the main thing, but look, I ain't blind. And so I definitely saw, you know what I'm saying, you know, females, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm keeping it real. Like, you know, I think a lot of times when you look at a person's college experience and when you come from the backside, right, it sounds so much perfect, right? Definitely. But going through the process, man, there were definitely lessons that I learned. I definitely wasn't where I am now. Most definitely. So I had to learn. It was a process.
Yeah, I wouldn't drink or smoke or nothing, but my kryptonite was the women. So I definitely understand that. And you know, just being, you know, a SEC football player at a major university. You know, these are just stuff I've heard. You know, I'm a Big Ten guy. You know, I think a lot of it, you know, universally known as the best conference and the best athletes and things like that, but not necessarily the best students or even, you know, there's rumors that, you know, a lot of guys didn't go to class and they just passed them. And, you know, a lot of those guys didn't take their education seriously. And it was the same thing, kind of some things at Illinois, but I think, you know, the perception was that it was basically the SEC was a lot of black, dumb, great athletes. And can you kind of just talk about that and just kind of talk about, you know, your experience from academic perspective?
Yeah. So when I did my dissertation, there was this terminology that like, it was like in bold letters and it sticks to this day. And it was majoring in eligibility.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you go to these top college campuses, you see that a lot.
Yep. Ours was our degree was sports, recreation, and tourism.
There you go.
Sports, recreation, and tourism.
You have that, right? Yeah. So I also talked about the organizational structures, right? That allows for these systems to continue to reproduce.
Yeah.
And so do you blame the fruit or the root?
Yeah.
Right. And so when I'm looking at these organizational structures, that I'm saying, are you really going to guide this student who's filled with so much potential in this specific major in order to play 12 games?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm 18. I want the pats on the back. I want 1,000 likes on Instagram. You know, I want the popularity. Yeah. I'm kind of cool on the purpose. I want the pats on the back. Yeah. And so you have a system that gives birth to that every single year. And so now if I see an athlete that's making 40 mil and I see my teacher who's here every single day for 8 hours a day, barely making 40 racks, barely making 40 or 45 in Alabama, then who am I really trying to become?
That NFL player.
I mean, you know, it's like 40 mil and 40,000, you know? And so I think the system is broken. Yeah. And so that's what I learned more so towards the back end of my college career. I started to learn just how much of a system it was and how dirty and corrupt it was. Now, did I benefit from a dirty and corrupt system? Only because I had influences from the outside of it who spoke a lot of positivity into me. But a lot of I am an anomaly, right? There's not a lot of individuals that make it out.
Yeah.
And so comparatively, I mean, this is one of the things I was going to talk about in my dissertation, but I didn't have enough time, but I was going to compare my stepfather and his 4 years at a prison system to the 4 years of a student athlete at a college campus.
That's deep. Go into that. Go into that.
And so let's go deeper, right? When you compare yards and fields, right? Let's go. Hey. All right. So let's compare two fields, right?
Yeah.
One works the field for specifically, let's just say a white system, a white-led system.
Yeah.
I did that too. I always talk about, Walt, how in high school, there was 2 recruiters that came to my house.
Yeah.
One to get my stepfather and one to get me.
Wow.
And so you had an officer coming to get the fathers out the hood, and then you had a college recruiter coming to get the talent.
That's deep.
And so, the pain runs deep, as Boosie said, right? That pain runs deep.
Most definitely.
And so now you got broken homes, and now you sending a broken son to a broken system. What you expecting, a complete son?
Yeah.
No, you're going to be broke, and you coming from brokenness.
Yeah.
And so now, all right, now let's get back to my supposed dissertation at that time. So now let's go a step deeper. When they seen me on campus, I was number 38. I was not DT.
Yeah.
They stripped me of my name.
Yeah.
And so you go to the prison system, and my stepfather was identified by an inmate number.
Yeah.
And so now the comparisons, right? I always tell people to get to know the student athlete beyond the helmet.
Most definitely.
Right. And so I remember after I got done, I would go in the stands and I would see young kids say, "Oh, number 22 is having a great game. Oh, number 38. Oh, number 42. Oh, number 34. They never called their name.
Most definitely.
And I thought that was a part of a system that I wanted to dismantle through the pencil.
Yeah.
And so that's why I took on a dissertation, and that's why I felt like I needed to be a black man with a doctorate degree, because too many of our young black males don't see it outside of a 3-piece suit. Yeah.
Definitely get that, man. I know, especially in the beginning of your college where you're on that trajectory of all SEC, of, first round, second round draft pick, and then you got hurt. Did that academic kind of motivation come in after you got hurt, or was this always something you had in even when you first came on campus?
It was always something I had, but again, we going deeper, right? I think it developed more so my character. Yeah. Right. I think the academic excellent portion, which is one of the 4 pillars that we live on, that hit me earlier on, but character development, developing my character through a lot of the struggles, through an ACL injury, not once, but twice. I think those things is really what taught me how to withstand the struggles and withstand the trials and withstand a vice president going to sleep on you in a job interview.
Yeah.
Yo, that like for me, I had been conditioned. Yeah. And so something in your history is going to explain something in your destiny if you just wait a little longer. And so for me, my ACL was preparation. It was preparation for me moving from region to region. It was preparation for the VP going to sleep on me. It was preparation for me for a certain amount of time having to look at my wife sleep on a mattress that was on the ground. I said my wife, not my girlfriend. Yeah. Yo, it's me waking up at 2 and 3 o'clock saying, yo, God, what's up? Yeah. And so we judged Job's wife so hard saying, curse God and die. Yo, have you seen some of the situations that's in the hood? Yeah. I think it's a righteous anger. Yeah. And so those are the things that developed me. And so now I'm at a position now where I can reach back. It's lifting as I climb. And so
man.
now
I remember you telling me a story, man. And, it was very profound to me. And I just want to go over it when you kind of knew that, football wasn't it, and it was actually in a game. It was in a bowl game. So I just want to talk about that and just talk about you felt that you had a different purpose and that you knew this football thing was a tool as opposed to the ticket.
Yeah. So it was at the end of, I think it was the Chick-fil-A. It was a Chick-fil-A bowl game, and we were playing.
Which is a major bowl game.
Which is a major bowl. It was a New Year's Six, I believe.
Yes.
So, and so they had Boykin. I mean, he was cold.
Oh, he was cold. Number 2.
He was cold. he was awesome. But what ended up happening in that game was it's like God took me in another place. And as I'm there on the field, I'm looking up at the scoreboard and I'm saying, is this it? This it? Like, even if I made it pro, is this it? Is this all that I will receive? Is a few thousand fans cheering for me only for a momentary time, and then when I fall off, they fall off. And so no, I want something more structurally founded. I want something more concrete, and more concrete for me was setting the foundation for those who came behind me. And a doctorate could do what cleats couldn't.
So you knew right then you was going to get your Ph.D., or was it like, I'm going to at least get my degree?
Yeah, I knew. It's interesting story. In the 10th grade, I didn't know what a doctorate degree was.
Me either.
So I remember going to people. It was a couple of people in the IB program, and I would never forget. I went to one of the guys, they around the school, they carry like they book bags with their computer in it. They and one day I asked one of the individuals, I was like, hey, how do you get a doctorate degree? And they like laughed at, like, they like looked at me like, yo, you don't know what a doctorate degree is? And I would never forget that day. I can remember the individual. He had glasses on. I mean, like, I could describe him to a T, okay? But it sparked something in me. And so when you look at 10, which is the number of completion, I graduated high school in 2009, and I graduated with my doctorate degree in 2019. That's an exact 10-year gap.
Yeah.
And so three degrees in 10 years was primarily a motivating factor from, yo, you don't know what a doctorate degree is?
Yeah.
I found out.
Definitely, man. Yeah. One thing I want to attack is that, you met your wife in college, and, I wasn't thinking about that in college.
Yeah.
And like, how did you two meet, and how did you know she was the one for you, and that, it was nothing out there for you except her?
Yeah. She bad, bro. She bad. She was bad. Look, she's still bad, right? But you know that college bad. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, so she actually ran track. Yeah. She was a sprinter. And so she ran at Ole Miss. She transferred from UTSA to Ole Miss. And so I didn't meet her until like her junior year. Okay. Right?
And so that was your what year?
That was my fifth year.
Okay.
Fifth year. I played 6.
Oh man, you're a good one.
Yeah, I was there a long time, right? So we would share the same facilities. So Ole Miss at that time, we would be, in the IPF indoor practice facility, and then the track runners would be around the track. Bruh. So I couldn't catch no ball. Bro, I couldn't tackle nobody. You feel me?
I would have paid no attention.
I'm like, yo, who's that little bit of red shorts?
Wow, yeah, bro.
You feel
that's
me?
why y'all was weak until.
She coming out them blocks. I'm like, yo, who is this? You feel me? Yeah. And so like, I saw her initially, and I was like, who is this? And so I started to pull back the layers, and I started to see the real Jordan. And the real Jordan was who I needed for where I was going.
That's deep. You knew that.
And I knew
at that age.
Well, I knew that because it's taking heed to your spirit.
Yeah.
It's your I say all the time that instinct finds what intellect can only explain.
Yeah.
Right? So instinctively, you can do certain things that intelligence won't necessarily explain. You won't have a specific thing to put on it. You just know it's the it factor. And so for her, I knew that. And she was a person that was very driven. And so she ended up graduating with a master's degree in integrated marketing communications. And so when I met her, it was, I saw her, right? What man doesn't, I saw her. But when I started to peel back the layers and who Jordan was and who she has become this beautiful, gorgeous tree that just keeps blossoming. I always tell people, you've never seen a full-grown tree. If somebody tells you that, they're lying. Trees continue to grow. They grow heavenward, right? And so for my wife, I can just see every single day how she grows. And if I'm being real honest, there's a lot of days I rest under her shade.
Yeah.
Under her wisdom, under her knowledge, under the things that she teaches me. So
I know for me, I can only speak for me. Sometimes I hate when, like, they right.
That's the worst.
They right. You don't like how they said it, but they right. And your pride and your ego kind of want to, say something else, but you really got to humble yourself and think, and really, they really keep you from a lot of hurt, harm, danger, and mistakes.
No, they really do. I owe a lot of where I have gone in life to her wisdom, and to her belief. It's such a powerful thing to have a person walking hand in hand with you on your journey and whispering to you, "Hey, you can make it. You can do it."
Almost definitely.
It's vital. It's imperative. And so she's been that individual for me. And eyes can only see outward. They can't see inward. And so to have an individual that's with me all the time and saying, yo, look, that right there ain't gonna work, but also that you're doing great.
Yeah.
Right. And so her constructive criticism on who I am as a husband first.
Yeah.
Has made me into the man that I am today.
Most definitely. Mm-hmm. And what I liked what you said, and I think, goes the same for me. It's like I knew, my wife was the person. If I wanted to be all that I felt God was calling me to be, this was the woman for me, because she can, she had the gifts, the skills, the talents, and the support to get me there. And I know even for myself, if it's, if I wasn't married to my wife, I would not be where I am today, from a mental standpoint, physical standpoint, financial standpoint, all these things, man. So I definitely get that. And I think a lot of times guys, especially, you get to the league or you do this, you just want that kind of arm candy or, somebody to stroke your ego. But I think a lot of times, you need that woman that's going to tell you sometimes something that you don't want to hear to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I definitely see that in Jordan.
She got it, boy.
Yeah. So I definitely see that. I definitely see that. Shout out. So you guys got married at quite young then.
Yeah, very young and very untraditional. So let's go deep.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of people that'll watch this and feel like they need a $30,000 wedding. So let's go deep. Yeah. Me and my wife, we got married in a courthouse for $20.
How old was y'all?
I was 20, so I'm 30 now. I was 23.
Oh, okay. Dang, y'all been married that long?
Yeah, we've been married. And so what ends up, I was 20. Okay, 23. So
how old was she? She younger than you, right?
She's 22. She was just leaving. She was just graduating, and we was at a pivotal point in our life.
That's some Southern stuff. So nobody. Hey, those.
Hey, like so, like for me and her though, we met in college.
Yeah.
So my family is from Alabama. Her family is from Houston, Texas. We're at Ole Miss. So what I ended up doing is I proposed to her, and I had a big, when I proposed to her, it was like nice. I had it at somebody's house, and like it was nice. But the wedding, our finances didn't allow for us to do.
Yeah. And
we said to ourselves, if we plant a seed of discomfort now, we'll eat the fruit later.
Okay.
And so we discarded the $30,000 wedding, right? Yeah. And so me and my wife, we sat up and watched the show. I guess it's marriage or mortgage, right? So they choose between marriage or mortgage, right? And I'm not the judge of nobody. Yeah. You do what you want to do with your finances. But for the majority of individuals that's in that median range, for us, we felt like that it was wisdom that would carry us further by just going to the courthouse and being right in front of the eyesight of God.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Before men, and I feel like this is a popularity culture.
Most definitely.
And so that's what people are generally looking for, not me, not my wife. And I owe that a lot to my wife, because you think about a woman.
Oh,
that,
she won't do. Yeah.
She won't like, and so
I ain't gonna lie to you. I got married at 31, so that wasn't no option.
So,
shout out to Michelle. I love you, babe.
So
she wasn't going.
So for me, I was blessed with a wife who was able to see further than where her foots were currently.
Yeah, I feel you.
And so we ultimately are in a way better place in Chicago now because of what we planted, right? And so what you sow, you reap.
I get you, man.
And so, and for me and her, that set us up for success in Chicago. And that's why we're able to be a blessing to so many people.
Yeah.
Because of us not going, it's called counterculture.
Yeah.
You're going against what culture does, and you're saying, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't add up financially, emotionally. I mean, like it was so much pressure, and I was like, babe, who we really doing this for? Like, who we really getting married for?
Yeah.
And so when we made it as one, we don't have $30,000 hanging over our head.
I hear you.
Right? We in the good now, right? And if we have an individual that come across our path that God places on our heart to bless, we can do that. We can have somewhere nice to lay our head. I can tell you what.
Yeah, your house nice, man.
Right? Well, because we didn't go 30 racks in the hole, my wife don't have to sleep on the mattress on the floor no more.
And let's get to that. So, you guys get married relatively young. I guess you guys stayed for a while in Ole Miss, which is in Oxford, Mississippi. You guys end up bouncing around, and you eventually get your advanced degrees and things like that. But as you told me, and I kind of want to get in depth with this, is that you really couldn't find work.
Yeah.
You was a Ph.D. doctor, black male, and you really couldn't find a job. So, like, please just kind of just explain that journey and kind of like the work journey and eventually why you came to Chicago. And then I want to go into that something else after that.
Yeah. Every successful individual must withstand a wilderness.
Yeah.
Every single individual that you meet has went through a type of wilderness, and that doesn't.
Your wilderness was a little long, bro.
Yeah, my wilderness was very long. Okay, all right, it was very long, and it played mental tricks on me.
I bet, man.
Because can you imagine my stepfather, who has a 10th grade education, 4 years in prison, he's getting told the same thing at the job interview as a doctorate degree is getting told.
I'd be mad. I would have been hot. I probably would have gave up, be honest with you.
And so now the inmate meets the collegiate student athlete.
Doctor.
We meeting together. We're covenant.
Yeah.
We married.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, yo, like you start to really look deep within yourself and say, is it me? Right? Like, am I good enough? And for me, I can specifically say it was my wife. The Bible say a man that find a wife find a good thing.
Yeah.
Finds a good thing. And so for me, that's what she has been for my journey, to call out of me what she sees in me.
That's what's up.
And so for a large part of my journey, specifically when I was in college and then got to Dallas, Texas, it was a season of growth. And I think so many people want the glory, but they don't want the story for the glory.
Most definitely.
Right? And so a lot of times you will see the stage, but you don't see the people pulling the curtains.
Yeah.
Right? Who builds the stage that the individual stands on?
Yeah.
There's a large part of the performer, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's. I feel like they should write secret letters to the people that build stages.
Yeah.
Without them, they couldn't stand on them.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're talking about the people that sacrifice in order for you to get the things that you have now. For me, that was my wife. And then consistently having a mother and a father and siblings that consistently telling me what I am when the world telling me what I ain't.
That's what's up, man. And I know eventually you guys, went to guys were in Mississippi, then moved to Dallas, Texas, and eventually had a choice of a different couple cities, but ultimately chose Chicago. And I just kind of wanted to understand why you chose Chicago with the reputation. You ain't got no family in Chicago. I don't think you guys ever been north, experienced that winter, why Chicago, which, quote unquote murder capital, all this crazy stuff going on. Why did you choose this city to settle as opposed to the other places that you had the opportunity to go to?
Walt, life is about angles. If you can look at a picture from the right angle, you can get a pretty good view as to what you can see. So for me, I saw Chicago and I saw a place that I could give inspiration. I saw a place that needed hope. Good news to a distant land is like cold water to a parched throat. Yeah. So I knew I had cold water. I'm looking for the parched throat. It was parched. Right? It's torched out here. Right? And so when I got to Chicago, I knew that eventually the seed needs the right soil. Yeah. Right? It's like, which is greater, the seed or the soil, right? The soil or the seed. Right? The seed is the seed. It isn't until you immerse it into the specific soil. And then a lot of times that soil is broken. Yeah. Right? You ain't putting it in soil. You ain't just throwing it on top of the soil. It takes a shovel, right? It takes something to grind up the dirt, and then you must immerse it. And then you got to water it. One man plants, another man waters, but God get an increase. Yeah. And so for me coming to Chicago, it was really a faith journey. Okay. And it was me seeing inspiration. It was me seeing hope when others saw bullets. Yeah. I'm not saying that I don't see them, but I'm seeing a God that can definitely use his vessels to come to a city and to combat a lot of these different issues that's going on. If not me, then who? That was my mentality.
Most definitely, man. And I just want to when you got to Chicago, I know that, you were going around kind of just seeing where you can add value, went to schools, different organizations, different people. You had the credentials. You could have been a dean. You could have been in the school system. You could have been a coach. You could have been all these things. But why did you choose the Male Mogul Initiative, a guy who was just kind of a one-man band at the time and, really didn't have it all together? Like, and as even now, we just kind of figure it out as we go. Yeah. But why would you choose to connect yourself with somebody, that's really taking a chance as opposed to something that, you could have been to any institution and, unlike a Dallas or anywhere else, Chicago probably would have got a job easy.
Yeah. Yeah. A city situated on top of a hill cannot be hidden. And so when I met you, I met your heart first. We're going deep, right? You remember what my Alabama roots taught me, to look at a person from the inside out, not the outside in. And so for me, when I met you, I met your heart first, not your hand. And when I saw your heart, I said, this is a man after God's own heart. May not be perfect, may not have all the marbles, may not have everything together, but I know what he do have. He's an individual that's after God's own heart, and I can see it in him. And so I definitely feel like when I met you, there was an instant spiritual connection first, and then I saw purpose work, right? I saw that you were an individual that was gritty, right? You were able to sacrifice for Male Mogul. Right. You will meet a lot of people that's in startups and they're not all the way invested. Yeah. And when they're not all the way invested, a certain part of you is held back. When I saw that, and I saw it firsthand of how you were operating in classrooms and how, I'll tell people now, when I first met Walt, I went to a classroom setting with Walt and we were there early. And probably about 30 minutes before the class was about to start, he said, hey, come with me right quick. I'm like, okay, 30 minutes, we about to start. No, come with me right quick. Let's go up the street. We go up the street and we go to McDonald's. And we go to McDonald's and we probably get probably 5 to 8 McDoubles and some fries, right? And he just piles it in the bag and he says, you don't know this yet, but McDonald's means so much more to this classroom because some of them don't eat. And a light bulb went off. Because I used to work at McDonald's. And I worked at McDonald's in the 10th grade and I rode a blue bike every single day because I didn't have a ride to work. I committed to Tennessee and then I rode my bike to McDonald's. So it wasn't heart to heart that we were connected. It was also McDonald's. I saw value in McDonald's when other people didn't. I saw value in the dollar menu.
Definitely.
And you did too. And so when you took that and you took something so precious to a group of young men that were really, really chasing a mission that they didn't know how to attack it, right? They know it's something in them, right? But how do I get that? And when I saw you become that model and seeing you transform in the way that they were attracted to you, I said, this is an individual that I can build with.
Most definitely. And I think we're going to kind of wrap it up on there. And then the next part is we're going to talk more about the Male Mogul and what we see and kind of playing that vision for the people. What are just last names? Is there anything that you would just kind of like to express just from your story and all the way, everything up to the Male Mogul that you want to give the people before we leave?
I talked earlier about lifting as you climb.
Yes.
So until we return next time, make sure you're reaching back. Make sure you're going to get somebody. Make sure you're going to dust them off. You be the brush to somebody's back. You be the shirt to somebody's chest. Yes. You be the jeans to somebody's legs. You be the shoes to somebody's feet.
That's great wisdom right there, man. So we'll be back next month. This is me, Walter Mendenhall, with my co-host, Dr. DT Shackelford. Until next time.